This is Randy Sullivan, the host of Bourbon Real Talk. I grew up in a small town and went to a small church where everyone looked and thought like me. Over the years, I've gotten to know and love people from all different walks of life. This has made my world bigger and richer. The secret ingredient in forming those relationships was getting to know people's real stories. That helped me to identify with them, have compassion on them, and eventually develop a real connection with them. We live in a disconnected world today, and I want to do everything in my power to build connections between individuals who may not have attempted friendship otherwise. I've observed this happening in the bourbon community on its own because whiskey naturally brings people together. Bourbon Real Talk hopes to combine the world's new passion for bourbon into an opportunity to bring people together. We will share some whiskey knowledge, some good drams, and some real talk. So sit back, pour a drink, and open your hearts and minds. You might just find yourself feeling more connected to the people in the world around you, all fueled by bourbon. Hello, everybody out there in Bourbon Real Talk land, and Randy Sullivan coming to you live with some very special guests. These ladies here, they have a podcast that's actually a lot larger than mine. And they have a super interesting backstory. So we're going to get into all of that. But per the use, first, we're going to try some whiskey. So this is exciting because you have never tried actual whiskey, right?
The only whiskey I've ever had in my life is Fireball. That's like my excuse that I drink whiskey.
Gotcha.
That's it.
It counts, right?
I don't usually drink.
It depends on who's watching.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. So what we've done is we have for her Mid Winter Nights Dram. This is at 16-1. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, this is a High West out of Utah product. I believe the juice is MGP, but this might be their own juice at this point. I don't know. But these are finished in French oak port barrels. So a little bit more of a...
so why do you drink it out of a glass like this, and I drink it out of a glass of
I am more than happy to give you one of these.
No, I just want to know.
But
I have never drank whiskey before.
Okay,
so.
well, I tell you what. Here's what we should do. Try that.
Okay.
As is, right now. Go ahead, take a sip.
Okay, so I'll teach you really quick about a European. I'm from Austria,
Okay.
originally. And in Austria, when we drink any alcohol, you're supposed to cheer, like how you say cheers, but we say Prost.
Prost.
It's P-R-O-S-T. And the most important part about that is you have to look in each other's eyes.
Okay.
Which is different. In America, people do this kind of stuff.
Okay.
They don't care. But in Europe, you have to look in each other's eyes.
Prost.
Prost?
Yeah.
Okay.
P-R-O-S-T.
It's Prost.
Prost.
So thank you for coming, and thank you for having us on your show. We're very excited to be on.
All right.
So thank you.
All right. Let's try it and see.
Mm-hmm.
About what I expected. Okay, you're definitely not going to want to drink out of these glasses.
Not diluted at all.
So what we did for her, because I know she doesn't drink a lot of spirits, is I put about 1.5 ounces in, threw some ice in, let that melt, threw some water in, threw some more ice in. So we've got you watered down to something that's close to cocktail level. Often this type of whiskey comes across almost like a old-fashioned when it's watered down to a lower proof, which is a pretty common cocktail in the whiskey world.
I see people drink it all the time.
Yeah.
So this is basically what it tastes like when they drink it?
No. I mean, it's a little bit more orange flavor, and they put some sugar in it and stuff. But it's in that same direction. Yeah. It's in that same direction. But I am proud of you for trying it. And if you want us to get you some wine so that you can drink and be happy with us, I don't know if you really don't like this. If you don't like it, then we can get you something else. But
I like it with my coffee.
Yeah.
It's like an Irish.
It's like
coffee.
For sure.
I can imagine.
So on this one, on because it is a port barrel finish. Don't breathe the whiskey. Because it's a port barrel finish, it comes across with a lot of like dark fruit flavors like raisin, plum, like maybe acai berry or however you pronounce it. little bit of cinnamon, nutmeg, spice, because it is a rye whiskey, so the rye whiskeys do come across almost like Thanksgiving flavors.
So this is what I'm getting is that whiskey is extremely strong.
Well, this one is, I think these are cask strength. No, this one's 98.6 proof. And yours is watered down to, I'm guessing yours is somewhere around 40 proof.
But 98 proof, that's insane. Isn't that like
That's a light whiskey for me. Most of the whiskeys that I drink are 100 and above. Most of them.
So where does that compare to, what's that thing that people...
Everclear?
Yes.
Everclear is 191 and some change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is straight liquor.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah,
I
so
love learning
most
about it.
American whiskeys are 90 proof and above. There's not a whole lot that are below 86. Most European whiskeys, Scotch, Irish whiskeys, they're usually 80. And so we drink our whiskey a little higher
Very
proof here.
interesting.
Mostly probably influenced by, there was a consumer protection law that was passed in 1896 or 7 called the Bottle and Bond Act. And that whiskey has to be 100 proof. And it was meant to make it so that you knew what you were getting.
Okay.
And it had to be manufactured in a controlled environment. That back then there was actually a government agent that was there every day to make sure there was no tampering with the whiskey. And the little paper strips that go across the top are a throwback to that, because that's how you knew that the package wasn't tampered with from the time that it had been shipped from the manufacturer. And they put them on there now more for decoration. They don't have all of the information on them that they used to.
Very interesting.
But it looks like you're empty. We're going to have to fix that problem.
So I got really hammered in New Orleans drinking Irish coffees.
Okay.
And I didn't even realize, and I was like blackout. So I'm like, I'll just mix it together.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And
You don't realize.
No, in the
And
coffee
so-
I can see, because it has sugar in it, then it makes that strong taste.
I want you to smell this. If the alcohol doesn't burn your nose, this particular whiskey smells and tastes exactly like a cinnamon sugar cookie.
What?
What we call a snickerdoodle.
That's a good shot too.
Yeah. It tastes like a snickerdoodle. So
You say this smells like a cinnamon cookie?
yeah, I mean, a lot of people you got to get your nose actually in the glass, because that alcohol vapors are lighter than the air, so they float up, and you got to get in there to really smell.
Like a cinnamon cookie.
Okay. Some people are like, all I get is nail polish remover. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, it smells like very strong alcohol that I'm going to taste.
Okay, all right, she's doing it, people.
Uh-oh. My mom does not shoot liquor.
Well, I think it tastes better than this.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
okay, all right.
It is strong, but I think it tastes way better than this watered down kind of thing.
Perfect. Okay. All right, we're switching up.
I'm just saying for myself, like it's kind of like, well, it reminds me more of Fireballs.
Yeah.
Relating more to it,
That's fair.
actually.
This one is
Yeah.
one of the most. Here, let's just kill this.
When I tried them all, I thought that's still my favorite.
Yeah.
Is the Angel's Envy.
All right, so we're out of Angel's Envy, but that's okay. We've got plenty of other whiskeys if we run out of those. So let's talk a little bit, because you ladies have a very interesting backstory. So first off, you have a podcast which is called Too Posh,
Yes.
right? And everything's pink.
Lots of things are pink.
Lots of things are pink. Lots of things in her house are pink. They're off camera. When I watched it, I was like,
My
oh,
office.
I am in the right place.
Yes.
My mom's office is pink.
Our office is pink, but I'm Gabrielle,
I'm Marcella.
and we have a Too Posh podcast that we started a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we just released our 167th episode.
Because you do 2 per week, right?
We do 2 per week, every Wednesday and every Friday.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's the basic show format?
Oh, just what it's about. Well, we are very big on people telling stories and being able to express whatever they've been through, because we always say celebrities get a platform to share their story and to kind of give us everything they've been through, and to, influence people into whatever it might be, sad or lighthearted, anything. And we feel like everyday people have stories to share as well. And we say, which is really funny, we're like, this is a non-judgmental space for everyone. And we had a guest who was like, yes, until it goes out and releases. And I'm like, well, I can't speak for everybody else, not judging. But in our environment, we want, and some of our stuff is sad. Some of our stuff is uplifting. Some of it's really funny. We do, at the end, we do our sex question with our sex therapist, which they always give, she always gives a nice explanation of
the segment is called Penis and Pussy Talk
with Miss Polly.
Yeah. So, but she's a licensed sex therapist, so she gives you the real
medical answer.
Real medical, clinical explanation of any questions you might have. So we have questions for her. Sometimes they turn into all kinds of other questions. She works at the largest sex toy store in the Panhandle, so she has a lot of information, which is always great. We do a question of the day for everyone too, for the panel.
What percentage of your guests do you think are female?
That is a good question. I honestly don't know, because I recently have had people come up to me in the gym. We were at a wedding recently, and it was men who were like, we listened to your show. And I think because...
I mean, like your guests that you have on.
Oh, guests. Well, we have a male co-host now who's really awesome, because he gives a good male perspective on a lot of our topics. I think when we started the show, we're very big women empowerment people. And it started with that, and then it kind of has gone into, obviously we're still women empowerment, but it's nice to have him on our show and give the males.
We have a lot, I feel like it's half and half.
Yeah.
We have a lot of men.
Yeah, we do.
We've had a lot of male guests.
Okay.
So both, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So show format's actually very similar to what I do, except for we drink whiskey while we do it.
We drink whiskey and we talk about sex.
Yeah, I've not had a sex topic yet. Not yet, but I mean, my show's explicit, so we can talk about whatever we want. So whenever I met, well, I didn't meet you, but whenever I met you, I was told that in your history, you were formerly married to somebody who was considered a mob boss.
I don't know if he was considered an actual boss. He was like the right-hand man to a boss.
Okay.
So in the New York mafia.
For the average Joe, I'm sure that there are people out there that understand the hierarchy and the different terms. I don't.
Yes.
So what would a boss be? Not like Gotti, right? Like
that's a boss.
Well, of course, Gotti. Yeah. Boss. I'm just saying he probably has a higher level. Right. They're under bosses. Okay. So your husband was the right-hand man to an underboss in New York.
Yes, in the New York Genovese family.
Genovese, okay. But you have an accent, and you're not from...
I'm from Austria originally.
Austria, okay.
And I always say I didn't know that the mafia was actually a real thing. You see it in the movies, and I'm from such a small country, such a small city, that actually really exists. I had no idea. And I always say I was the perfect victim because I was Catholic. We all grew up Catholic in Austria, and they love to have Catholic girls. So, and I didn't speak the language. So that was great.
For my dad.
So you... At what point did you move to the United States? Like,
I met him, and pretty soon after I met him,
where did you meet him at?
In Vienna, Austria.
Okay.
In a restaurant, I was with a girlfriend, and he was extremely charismatic. That was his thing, and he,
as most con artists believe,
he was on another level charismatic though, and he basically got my girlfriend's number, which was interesting, but he did that because he surprised me. Every day I got these humongous flower arrangements. I worked at an insurance company in Vienna at the time, and it was the talk of the whole big insurance company because these flowers were not normal. It wasn't like a little flower, enormous flower. And I was always like, this is so over the top. I don't even know this guy.
Right.
And he would call me and say, well, my friend, which was I learned all this later, but his friend was going to have his daughter's wedding in Austria. And he said, and we're going to get married one day too. And I was like, I have never even gone to dinner with this guy. Like, what is he doing? So flew in town, took me to dinner. Of course, everything was 5 stars, limos, all this kind of stuff. It was just like, basically it was Pretty Woman, the movie, except I wasn't.
Mom, I don't know.
I love how quickly the daughter had to throw in there.
I'm like,
except for my mom's not a
unless there's something I don't know.
No.
That was the thing.
She worked at an insurance agency.
Yeah.
So 5-star, traveling around.
It was just unbelievable. Then he had to leave pretty quickly after that, but he had like people take me on shopping sprees. But at the time, fur coats were not
as taboo as they are now.
They're now, and
back then you could club a baby seal to death.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
He didn't need a skin. It's fine.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I seriously didn't even know what was happening. It was all so fast, and it was just sweeping a girl off their feet. That's what happened to me. And he at one point said, I need to go to the United States for 2 months. And I was single. I was young. I'm like, I can do anything for 2 months. Mm-hmm. So came here, and I always say that's how I came here, and I'm still here. It's like all these years later. And I don't know. I say, I don't know how I got in, and then I didn't know how I got out, because I had my 2 kids, which is the best part of that whole experience. But I've said lately, I don't regret anything.
Sure.
It was a crazy, exciting, unbelievable life, to be honest, until I found out.
Right, that it's associated with it.
And that happened when she was 14. We had, there was a newspaper article in the Dallas Morning News front page that basically talked about all the things like racketeering and money laundering, fraud, and mafia. And I was like, man, what is all this? Like, it makes me sound dumb, but I just kind of, he always said he was importing, exporting.
Isn't that like, that's become like a close cliche of like,
it is.
Like, what do you do? Import, export.
Yeah. For most people, I think just for her being from a different country, it probably sounded legit.
Yeah, right, sure. Yeah.
So and we traveled to Brussels all the time in Europe, so it wasn't, like for me, I had 2 kids. I lived in my little White House mansion. I would live this princess lifestyle. Oh, it wasn't very little. No.
Yeah.
Well, then I think in the newspaper that he paid cash for our big mansion, and that was weird. Or our old neighbor once was like, there was a rumor that your dad paid like an enormous amount of just cash, and people just thought that was weird in our neighborhood even. But I thought our life was normal, so I had no clue that it was weird.
Right.
To like have.
Why would you?
A mobster dad.
Right.
Yeah,
sure.
No.
But I mean, they didn't know that he was a mobster. I didn't know he was a mobster. And so his son from a previous marriage was with us at the time when a newspaper article came out. And when he saw it, I was reading it, I was kind of going, I'm so confused. And he got up, I'll never forget it, and he slammed the door and he said, here it goes again. And I was like, goes again what? Well, this is then when I found out, then I became smart. Then I started researching, and then I found out everything, basically. And, that's crazy. Crazy life. And
so I have so many questions. So you are, how old are you when you met him?
I was 23.
23, and you had not been married at that point? No?
Mm-hmm.
So you go for what you think is a 2-month-long trip with this fantabulous, charismatic, super rich man to the United States. And where did you end up settling? Because he worked for New York.
Brooklyn, New York.
Uh-huh.
And I flew into JFK. And I always tell everyone, like, I'm this little tiny town in Austria, right? And I remember he was there picking me up, and I kept thinking as I was walking, what are you doing with your life? Like, what
From little town to New York.
What are you doing? What are you thinking? The thing that made me feel better is we went to his sister's house. So it was like there was family, so I wasn't like...
Right. You're like, I'm not being kidnapped.
Scared, right? So...
unless the sister's in on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that all felt right. And then oh my gosh.
It's okay.
And then we settled in Naples, Florida. That's where we went first.
Okay. Yeah, because I've heard that there's some mafia activity in the Naples area.
I didn't know that. We had this, of course, again, grandiose, like,
amazing house.
It was a condo, but it was fully furnished right on the ocean. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. But back then, it was so small, I didn't like it. After 6 months, I was like, I am so bored. I'm a city girl. I want to get out of this life. And then we lived in Queens, New York, for a little bit. And then we moved to Dallas. But all this...
And how many years between you coming to the U.S. before you were landed in Dallas?
Only like, it was 6 months in Naples, maybe almost a year in Queens. She was born in Queens. And then we moved to Dallas when she was not quite a year old. And that was because his mafia boss, his direct boss actually was released from prison. But this is all so complicated. But he was released from prison and moved to Oklahoma and was under the witness protection program at the time. But all that was very confusing back then for me. But so we moved to Dallas, but I didn't know that was a plan because the boss was in Oklahoma. We were in Dallas, was close enough to drive back and forth, so they could stay under the radar. And they started their own little new... there's a whole
new crime.
Yes, always had to do with gasoline.
Really?
Yes, they would always, because his boss at the time, he was a genius, and his goal was always to make sure the government got basically screwed out of tax money. That was his thing. I always said, if he did it this honestly, he was so smart.
Right, he'd be rich and not go to jail.
Yeah, he didn't have to be
your energy
going to jail, but that was something that he liked to do. It was amazing.
This is Randy Sullivan with the Randall Sullivan Home Selling Team and the host of Bourbon Real Talk. Producing a podcast is time-consuming and expensive, and Bourbon Real Talk wants to maintain its integrity by not promoting products and services that it doesn't believe in. For this reason, I've opted to have my real estate team sponsor this program. The Randall Sullivan Home Selling Team has operated since 2008. We've sold almost 500 homes. We have proprietary programs that make a massive difference to the outcome of our clients, and we service the entire North Texas area. If you live in North Texas and you need to buy or sell a home, please give us a chance to explain how our services could benefit you. We understand that not all of our listeners live in North Texas. We also know that not all real estate agents are created equal. If you need a real estate agent outside of North Texas, the Randall Sullivan Home Selling Team has access to tools to help you find a highly qualified agent in your area. The service is free for you, and we stick around through the end of the process to help you with your transaction, even when we're not your agent. If you have a real estate transaction in your future, please reach out to us at randallsullivanteam.com, Facebook, Instagram, or just give us a call at 214-385-9101. So I could totally see how confusing it would be being in that environment, being around those people. Now, did he basically keep y'all insulated from...
Completely. I had no idea. I mean, we were... her godfather. The boss was her godfather. We got a key to the city of Oklahoma for her christening. So we were around these people. We were always around.
That's a real fucking thing? Like they give you a key?
I have a key on the plaque.
It's on top.
Okay.
They sent the key.
I'm like, I don't know why I got that.
So we were always around. I just never knew the real story. Because the one thing also, I learned when you don't speak the language fluently, you cannot pick up lies.
Okay.
Is extreme. You believe everything because you can't even.
You're struggling to figure out what the words are, right? Yeah.
So that's how it all started. But then, I don't know. Until the newspaper article came out, I had no idea.
I mean, in and out of the house too. There were these people, and
always weird people.
Always people. They would go in my dad's office, and I'm very nosy, so they would go in the office and shut the door. But I'm only nosy because I want to know what's happening, not for that reason. But I remember like crawling, and trying to listen, but then tape recording everything.
Yeah. You tape recorded?
No, they did. They tape recorded
everything.
All their conversations. I don't know why. That's just like a weird memory that I have.
That does not sound gangster. Like it seems like you would know not to document all of your criminal activity.
But see, sometimes they had to because they had to make sure that this was a real thing, I think.
Okay. Well, and I guess maybe it's insurance, right? So if you go, okay, well, if you're going to talk, then the tape's going to come out and everyone's going down. Yeah.
So then that newspaper article came out, and then school got really rough for me.
She was 14.
Yeah. And then no more friends.
What? Really? What school were you going to?
At the time, I was in Las Colinas, and then Barbara Bush Middle School in Las Colinas, and then I went to Earl Turner in Carrollton.
Okay.
For high school, but it became nobody was allowed to come over anymore, so that's very confusing. You're like, where'd all my friends go? Like, I don't understand. But in those parents' defense, why would you let your child come to a mobster's house that you now have knowledge of, I guess? So I think that
was it dangerous?
To be
I mean, well,
I never felt in danger ever, except I never will forget when I was told by the I don't want to give you false information, the CIA, I don't know who makes the decision, FBI?
Probably FBI, yeah.
That they had a conversation with me and they said, you are going to have to go into the witness protection program. Thinking back on it today, I laugh about it all the time because back then I was so naive. I was like, what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to have a new name. You can't have contact with family, friends. You're basically starting a new life with a new name. And I said, I'm not doing that. Like, I literally said that, and they looked at me like, what do you mean? And I go, well, I am not giving up my friends at home. That's always been my thing. I'm from Austria. My best friends are there. They come from there. They have been my best friends all these years. I'm not going to give them up.
Right.
Well, and I was so 1,000,000%, I'm not doing that.
Oh.
Yeah. Never did I think that was dangerous. Now, today, I'm going, what was I
thinking?
Yeah, but then isn't there something that, like, there was something weird that my dad was always at my school, just sitting there early? Isn't that like a thing that was in an article or something? And then in high school, I was getting in so many arguments because people were like, your dad's in the mall. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, I was so upset at the time, and boys thought it was like cool.
Right, yeah.
This is not cool. I think it was upsetting.
And you're not average looking, so I'm sure you were already getting some extra attention.
Yes, and
right.
I think.
And then the added cachet of like, this is my end to the mob.
Yeah,
I gotta,
right.
If I can get this girl to fall in love with me, I'll be a made man.
Exactly.
But
right.
it was that, but then it was the other. I can't date you because I'll end up 6 foot under.
Yeah,
so then
and it was
all that
part.
Hey, any boys out there that think about dating my daughter? Like, you don't have to be in the mafia to put your ass 6 feet under.
That's the funny thing about most dads. Like, hey, I'm not a monster dad.
Yeah, you're in just as much danger, baby.
Exactly. So I think, and then I got real nosy again. I think just researching stuff about my dad was interesting. I can't remember exactly everything I would find, but it just became interesting. And I don't remember, still to this day when we talk about it, I do not remember my dad being on house arrest. I have no memory of that.
That is so weird to me. Because he was on house arrest for 18 months. So anytime you go to the mailbox, the freaking alarm would go off. It was so loud and so annoying. And I'm so shocked that there's no memory for her at all for that.
No,
because that was
I feel like I think, because that means he
and
can't
it was
leave.
a huge thing on his ankle. Like, humongous.
I don't remember that part. But I know that for my mom, I know that court was very traumatizing for her when
That was traumatizing.
When we kind of lost everything. And then they took.
No, I had to go to court. I found out about it the day before I had to go to court. I had absolutely no preparation, had no warning. It was basically, tomorrow we're going to go to the courthouse and you're probably going to have to go on the stand. And I go, wait, I have to do what?
Yeah. You're like, talk about what? I don't know shit.
Yeah, I know. And I think that helped me, though, because I really didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't sign anything ever.
The only thing I ever signed was he did something with the house later on, but I didn't even know what it was. Like, it was just, he basically signed the house over to me at some point.
Yeah.
And I went on the witness stand, and it was in the Dallas Criminal Justice Court, and he asked these questions, and he said that this man promised to, I mean, you came from a different country. Did he promise to take care of you? I said, yes. And he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. How many kids? 2. Do you have any family here? No. You have not one family member yet? No, they're all at home. Well, if I take your house away today, when you go home, where are you going to go? I was like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tearing up. I'm like thinking my children, I don't know what to do. And that's all I remember. And I don't remember the rest except that he said, I want you to know I'm giving this house to you. And you can do with him whatever you want, but this is your house. You own it. So he basically gave this house to me. I'm still like, I don't know if I'm missing little parts in the story. I don't know, but it was so crazy because, like, in 1 second, I could have been homeless with kids.
Right.
And I think he knew that I didn't know
what
was going on. Like, he could tell that I didn't know. I wasn't lying.
Right.
And then, though, let me tell you, I found out everything. I became, like, research detective, and
Still to this day, my mom is a research detective. You cannot pass anything by her.
I mean, I wanted to know everything because it was, to me, like, how did I get here and how did I get out? Because the truth of the matter is that they all started testifying against each other.
Sure.
That's how we got away with it, because the truth is that usually this didn't happen. People did get killed when this happened, usually. So it's the first time in mafia history that this happens.
Gotcha.
Where everyone
read
about,
it.
Yeah, and I always said, man, we got lucky. I mean, truly,
my godfather went to prison, and then my dad was on house arrest.
Which I think the judge felt bad because I think he knew he didn't want to take a dad away from the kids either. Mm-hmm. So he put him on house arrest, which he should have gone to prison.
Right.
But he didn't.
So everybody rats on everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow your husband avoids prison time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you start doing research, I'm guessing online.
Oh yeah.
Are you calling the prosecutor's office?
No, I didn't do that.
Didn't do that?
Because I knew everything. Because he had a parole officer. And the parole officer and I became really close friends.
Gotcha.
I always say he saved my life.
Gotcha.
Like, for real.
He's the one that took the blinders off, let you really see behind her.
Yeah, and what was also interesting was that, I don't know, when you're a Catholic girl in the mafia, how this goes is like they provide you this really beautiful outside shell of a life, I guess you could say. Like, you have a beautiful house and you have credit cards and you can do whatever you want. And then they do all their things, and then when the house crumbles, you're just supposed to just be okay with it. Like, you're not supposed to feel anything. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're just kind of like, well, now it's not so great. And I remember when all this happened, I mean, this was all very traumatic. Like, the husband on house arrest, explaining it to my children, making sure my children are okay. I mean, when you have a newspaper article come out like that, it's very, very difficult. And this parole officer would always come in. He was the first person that would say, how are you doing? And I remember going, What do you mean?
You're like, I don't know.
And I remember just like sitting there and sobbing, like for the first time ever. And we became so close, and he kind of helped me with my kids too, because they were so young.
Mm-hmm.
She was 14, Gina was 7.
Wow.
So I had to maneuver like things like my son, one of his best friends, we were at a country club and we walked in to have dinner, and his best friend was having a birthday party that he wasn't invited to, that we didn't know. So now he's like, my friend is on this horse. Why am I not on the horse? He's 7. He doesn't know any better.
Sure.
So that was hard.
Well, I think too, life changed. So
Yeah,
now we have no more money. I always say to people, I think that, everything happens for a reason. I think that who I am today might have been a little bit different had that not happened.
Sure.
Probably would have been like kind of like spoiled little bitch,
yeah.
to be honest.
Right.
I was very spoiled. I mean, we lived a very grand lifestyle, and then I was my dad's only daughter. My dad had 3 sons, and then my brother, and so my dad had 5 kids total.
Mm-hmm.
I was his only girl. So I think that we just got very spoiled by my mother as well. We just had everything. And then suddenly it's gone, and I'm a dancer. I've been a dancer since I was 2, and very highly competitive dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well,
we don't have money for that.
Yeah, don't think you can dance anymore. Well, luckily at the time, the owner of the studio I was at was like, you're going to dance,
mm-hmm.
but you're going to work to dance. And I was like, okay, I'll do anything. So I really worked from I started teaching at 15 and really working from the bottom up and realizing that you have to work really hard to I never got a paycheck until I was 19 or so, or once I had not been a student anymore. So you're like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And I think that's when we learned, and that's what she's really big about, is that women should, and not that it's a knock to men, but you just don't ever know what could happen. And women should always kind of have their own income just in case, to take care of yourself if something were to happen. And I think that a lot of times not that being a stay-at-home mom is not a job, but it's what if something happens and then you don't have anything to fall back on.
Right.
Because anything can happen. I think it was a slap in the face to my mom. Like, all of a sudden, what is she going to do? She hasn't worked since she was 23.
I was a stay-at-home mom and ended up bankrupt when all this happened. So the only thing that I did have was that house. That was the thing that I did have. But it was not taken care of, so we didn't get, when we sold it, what we should have gotten. So it was a very difficult time for all of us. But then I just decided to work and did a lingerie company.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
So you had 2 kids, your son and...
Marcella was the oldest, and then I have a son 7 years younger.
Okay. But you have another daughter?
And then with my husband now, we have
you're a half sister.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And so he's on house arrest. The house has been awarded to you. At some point, you made the decision, like, I'm done, right? Mm-hmm. So how did that work? Because I didn't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch TV, but I didn't think you were allowed to divorce your mafia husband. I didn't know that was like I guess maybe all the rules got thrown out the window.
All the rules got thrown out the window
when everyone started ratting on everyone else.
That was, and it's still to date, as far as I understand, the only time that happened. I've always been a very upfront, honest person. Like, I can't secret and lies and this kind of stuff. I don't do well with it. So I remember that when all this happened, I was like, okay, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be unofficially separated. Like, we're just gonna live our life, because I always thought, well, he was a good dad to my kids, and no one is gonna love the kids like their dad does. So let's stay in this. It's fine. I just don't, like, we're just not a couple. We got along as brother and sister, and so we lived in a big enough house where
one had one room, one had the other.
We like half, whatever.
Really?
So yeah, we lived like that for many years. It was great. Like,
I thought that was normal marriage. I thought you sleep in separate rooms.
Sadly, it's becoming more and more normal.
And they're like, why, my friends, why is your dad sleeping there? I'm like, oh, I think he just snores really loud. It's just normal. Like,
Yeah.
To me, I thought that.
But it was a decision we made. And
Yeah.
we got along, and I always said, it was kind of a joke. I always said, if I meet someone and get married again one day, he's going to walk me down the aisle. We got along that great.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, no bad feelings at all. I always thought he was great.
Until she actually met someone.
No, but that's a different story. The first day she was in high school, I dropped her off, never forget it, August 8th. She went into that school, and I sat in the parking lot, and I thought, amen, that being mom thing that I took so serious, that's almost over. Like, you realize, I thought, I can't live that life forever. Like, what do I do when my kids leave?
Right.
Drove home, no lie. Went to him and said, hey, I think we need to be officially separated. We can still live here, but you do your thing, I do my thing. If you meet someone, whatever, it's fine. Like, we'll support each other. 6 weeks later is when I met my now husband.
Okay.
And then he wasn't okay. Even though he had
Poor Patrick.
Oh my God, yes.
Who my dad chased him.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
He threatened to cut us up and feed us to the sharks. I fell asleep with a red Sharpie one time and woke up and I saw red and I thought, oh my God, did he stab me?
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So crazy.
I've been wondering this ever since I met you and your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how in the hell, like,
Patrick doesn't give a shit.
okay, well,
So brave.
apparently not, because I've thought about, I've met women that I've helped them, and they had these terrible relationships, and their husband was a shithead, their ex-husband, and I've seen just them just fucking wreck this poor woman's life and just make it terrible for them. And there's one woman that I'm thinking of right now. I love her. She's awesome. Very pretty, young enough. She could have moved on, but her husband's such a shit and he causes so much havoc in her life that every time she gets in a relationship, it ends, right? And she goes, I just can't find a guy that is willing to push through and make it through to the other side.
I know.
And I can imagine what it would be like. Like, yeah, he's kind of mafia,
I don't know how he did it. I was never did.
Yeah.
He says,
why are you still here?
Yeah.
I would say, why are you still here? That was so much havoc.
Not to mention 2 kids, a teenage kid. Poor Patrick. I know. I'm sorry, Patrick. I don't know. He just really stuck it out and didn't care. And then it became okay.
Do you feel like you were testing him to see if it was real?
Patrick?
Yeah.
No, I think I was just a bratty teenager.
Gotcha.
I think. And I was very close with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, it's all change in your teenage years, I guess. But then everything became okay. Like, it was really cool. At one point, my dad, everybody ended up getting along, and I thought that was the coolest. Like, my dad would come over on holidays. My sister was already born.
Come over every weekend.
And cook, and because my dad was a 5-star chef at the same time.
When you're in the mafia and you have shit tons of money, you might as well. Right?
Yeah. Well, he built restaurants. This is why I always said if he had stayed in the restaurant, he would have been fine. He was an extremely talented chef, and
he had 2 restaurants in New York, and then we opened a Rainier's in Las Colinas, and we had that. And then I don't know, we all got along. And so that was nice, like towards the end of my dad's life. And then, so that was comforting. That's why I'm like, if you can get along after separated, it is better for the kids, because it was really nice for all of us.
I've seen it a few times, and like, I guess this is why I've been married for 21 years, and it's not been easy. It never is. But I think that might be why my wife and I have never separated. Because just the thought of her with another man, I'm like, I'll kill them!
Yeah, I'd rather have this be hard.
Right. This is Randy Sullivan with RSHST Capital, LLC, and the host of Bourbon Real Talk. Producing a podcast is time-consuming and expensive, and Bourbon Real Talk wants to maintain its integrity by not promoting products or services that it doesn't believe in. For this reason, I have opted to have my funding company sponsor this program. RSHST Capital is the first of its kind funding company that provides pay-at-close funding to home sellers out of their equity. If you have a home to sell, need money for renovations or repairs to maximize your profit, money to stop pending foreclosure or to keep your mortgage current, or cash for really anything, then look into RSHST Capital. This program is simple. We verify that you have equity, approve you for a funding amount. You have access to that cash at practically a moment's notice for only a nominal fee. This program is raising sellers cash after closing by tens of thousands of dollars, stopping foreclosures and changing people's financial future. You pick your real estate agent, your contractor, and have access to actual cash or contracting expenses with zero upfront cost. This is a nationwide program. So if you have any curiosity about how it works, please look us up at rshstcapital.com, Facebook, or just give us a call at 214-385-9101. You guys are living in the same home. You are officially separated. You're dating.
After 6 weeks.
After 6 weeks. Yeah. Is your dad dating at this point?
No.
No. Okay.
Because we don't know.
We don't know. Sure. He was good at hiding shit.
Yeah,
we know
so
that. He might have been dating people the whole time. We don't know.
Yes, we don't have.
Right.
We know something.
My older brothers and I used to joke when we would go to New York with my dad. We would be somewhere and be like, "Dad, is that your kid? Could that be my brother?" We were just like, "I bet there's so many of us. We don't even know." So that was a joke.
Once you get into this relationship and he's upset about it, he's chasing Patrick, right? Patrick?
Yes.
He's following Patrick, he's chasing him, threats, super upset. So at some point you go, okay. Now this is a precarious situation, right? Because he brought you to the United States. You lived the lifestyle of what could only be described as a mafia princess, right? Like you could spend anything you wanted.
Yep.
You guys end up losing everything but the house, and it's yours.
Yep.
And you decide to stay with him because he's a good father. But what that did was give him a base of operation that he didn't have to pay for, right? Because he's living in what's effectively your house. Mm-hmm. So the point that you start to fall in love with somebody else, all that shit's slipping away too. The last vestige of what he was able to build with his criminal activity, he's about to lose access to it.
I actually, though, like when we really separated, when he moved out, I always tried to be fair. I didn't make him pay child support, and I told him, take whatever you need. I wasn't even home. I said, whatever you need, take it. And so he furnished the whole entire apartment and whatever he had to have. And then I was left with the house trying to figure that out because I have no income. There's no savings. I'm bankrupt.
He stole our savings, my brother and I.
Yeah, he did. He stole my money. I had a bank account in Austria where he was so charismatic. He actually befriended my Austrian banker and he stole all my money. That is absolutely the most illegal thing that you could possibly do.
I think we firmly established he doesn't care about the law. He's totally willing to break
rules
the law.
Don't apply.
Yeah.
Rules never apply.
Oh, you're talking to everyone else but me. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a very interesting.
But if you were to meet my dad,
you would love him.
Everybody, like the nicest, funniest, louder, larger than life. Never met a stranger ever. I mean, friends with everyone. If he walked into a room, he was going to know everybody. And that's the other funny part about it. Is like, then at the same time, there's
that's why I say I have no regrets.
Right, sure.
I don't have any. I'm like,
I think that's a healthy worldview.
Yeah, because you can't change it, and that was my path. And
unless you're just miserable where you're at, then you're like, I'd change anything just to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you're happy with
But I feel like you have to make the best out of everything.
Sure.
So I feel like I learned a lot out of those situations, and I got to teach my children to be survivors and to survive any situation, no matter how hard it is, and to make the best out of it and always have a good attitude. They're not allowed to stay down ever.
I almost hesitate to ask this question because you've said two things that contradicted each other. Is your dad still around?
No.
Okay. Because you made reference to that, and then you said if you met him.
Right.
So,
yeah. Sometimes I speak it both ways.
No, I understand.
Yes. No, my dad passed away in the summer of 2011, and that was traumatic as well. Unfortunately, my half of the family blame me for that. So I have no contact with my brothers or my aunt or any of my family in New York right when my dad had passed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hard because you would want to still be close to your family.
Right. You want them to circle around you.
Yeah, for sure. But that became another, like the ending became so traumatic because I found my dad, which was equally as awful.
Did he take his own life?
No, I think he had a massive heart attack, but heat stroke was the whole, like when I ended up talking to somebody, like what had happened. And when I had gotten to the house, he had been passed for like 3 days. So that was a nightmare in itself. And my mom wasn't home, like they were out of town and my brother was out of town. So I kind of was talking to my older brother at the time, and I was with my best friend at the time, and we found my dad. But that you're talking to your siblings thinking that I don't have money. I was 25. I was like,
well, let me just say something about that. In a normal New York mafia family, normal. That sounds really
a normal mafia family.
I mean, as normal as that can be. Everyone knows that the boys of the family better take care of their sister. I mean, do we even have to discuss that?
Right.
I think that's a normal thing in most families, right?
Yeah, I've seen Godfather. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how Sonny died.
This situation is still mind-boggling for me because there are 3 older brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, Marcella, the only daughter, and Gino, the youngest brother, are being blamed for something that is absolutely outrageous. They didn't do their part, so they are trying to push blame off on someone else. I think they're cowards for it. I have been extremely disappointed by their actions. I've never heard of a family that didn't come together after someone passes away and makes the best out of it. I was planning on doing the best for them because I believe that each of them had a lot of pain because of the lifestyle. When you are living in a mafia lifestyle, each person has a lot of pain. And I said to everyone, maybe this is a time where you guys can all come together and heal.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that a little bit, when my oldest or older brother at the time said not again, we all dealt with my dad being in the mob in different forms of life. So the older ones dealt with like the gangster dad. Like my dad was beating the shit out of people in front of the restaurant. Like there were dead bodies in trunk. Like
somebody drove by their home and shot at the house. Like this is a long time before I even met him. But everybody kind of experienced their own trauma within one world. And I think I found comfort, though it didn't matter that my dad did all these things, still my dad. And we would go to New York and we would go to my brother's house and we would tell stories. And it's just that kind of, you want that with your siblings after. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, when he did pass, they took him to New York. But this is like a little bit of time. Like we were talking. Mm-hmm. Everyone was talking. We were making plans on how to handle this now that he has passed away. What should we do with him? Where should be a funeral? All that. And next thing we know, they cut off all communication.
Contact,
all of it. I don't know what is going on. She doesn't know what's going on. No one knows what's going on. And then she finds out on Facebook that they actually had a funeral and left his youngest children out.
Yeah.
So I just, and this might be a dumb question.
No dumb question.
But how could you be responsible for someone dying of heat stroke?
I have no idea.
She's not.
I'm not. Well, they.
No, I want to know their logic. Did anybody ever communicate to you?
Yeah.
You were supposed to do X, Y, Z, and you did not do it.
Very nasty. Like that. I guess I was out of town. My dad, being the stubborn man that he is, the air conditioner broke.
Patrick and I tried to put him up in a hotel, but he wouldn't go.
We were like, Dad. I go, Dad, that's very dangerous. Like, I brought him I was like, Dad, he's like, somebody's coming over. Someone's coming over tomorrow. So, being my dad how he is, I'm thinking, whatever, like, he's going to get it taken care of. I don't know.
Not only that, but you're not going to fucking make a mafia boss do some shit he doesn't want to do.
That, number one.
Yeah.
Number two.
My kids can't make me do shit.
There you go.
Yeah.
But he also wasn't in the best health at that time. And his mind wasn't 100% how he usually would be. So he was even more stubborn, you could almost say. But I was in contact with all his kids. And I would say, you guys have to come down. You have to help. Marcella can't do all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but they wouldn't. They went silent on me when it came to helping.
Yeah.
Then when he passed away, it's all our fault.
Yeah, it became an all-out war that shocked me, because not only was I the one to come upon something like that, which should not happen, but I did, and then after that, to then on top of it be attacked, like, and you know that your dad would have beat the shit out of your own brothers had he been there to know how they talked to you. I mean, they were telling me to go kill myself.
Yeah.
That if I even thought about coming to where he was buried, they would beat the shit out of me. My own brothers, which knowing that my dad would have beat my brothers for talking to, like, he would beat his own sons for talking to his daughter that way. So that became...
I'm thinking about beating my son.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So that became, like, what is happening?
This is an Italian New York family. Let me even leave mafia out.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Italian New York family.
It's about family.
It's about family. It's about the older brothers always protecting the younger, especially sister.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can't even imagine.
And it's still ongoing.
It's still ongoing. I tried to make peace.
I tried to make peace even after all that recently. And I asked where he is because I feel like I don't have closure. I never got a few. Not that gives it to you. I can have it myself. But it's like I want to know where my dad is. So I asked for the address, and I did tell my older brother happy birthday because I was like, okay, maybe enough time has passed. We can, like, see each other and talk. I got an address, and that was it, really. It's kind of like...
Back then, I wrote a blog about the situation. Couldn't help it. And got a phone call from the oldest wife, who's actually a sweet person. She said, you need to take that down. I said, no, you don't have to take it down at all. But at the time, she wanted to have at least ashes of her dad. So I said, you send me ashes, I'll take it down.
Yeah.
So we got, like, a little bit of ashes. I wanted them to have peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's kind of the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's tragic.
Sorry.
No, hey, that's
Drink some whiskey.
Drink some whiskey. So where are you guys at now? So now you've been married to poor Patrick.
poor Patrick.
I always tell him he hung in there, but he gets a lot. They give him a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
We do.
So you've been married to poor Patrick for how long now?
We've been together for
19 years.
And, been married for 16 years.
16 years? All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You'll never catch up to me. I'm 5 years ahead of you. And then, and so you guys have reinvented yourself multiple times, but now it's you're focused on your podcast.
Yes, we're focusing on podcasts.
Growing
we
that.
still have the boutique as well, but
yeah,
we're focusing
An
on
online boutique or a physical?
Online.
Yeah.
But basically physical here. So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And then you're still dancing?
I am still dancing, choreographing, just around, like, Dallas, just independent contractor. I am at a studio, but I don't want to be, I just like to come, dance,
have fun
choreograph,
and leave.
It's
Is
a
it
lot
just
easier.
started something new too?
I did. I started working at Septian, which is a music school, working with artists, which is fun. So just choreographing for singers, teaching them stage presence and choreography. So that's fun, and kind of just once I closed the studio, I had to reinvent all that stuff too.
Sure.
So just doing that. So it's nice.
All right, so let's get the word out there about how people can get in contact with you and find your podcast. So tell them where to find you.
Yeah, you do the podcast.
It is on all podcast hosting stations, whatever that's called.
Right. So the podcast app, Google Play, Stitcher, all of those.
iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, it's
YouTube,
everywhere. YouTube,
Too Posh Podcast.
Yes, Too Posh Podcast. We are about to have a new website, tooposhpodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on that. Right now, it's still buried in our boutique site, but we're making a separate website. And contact us if you think you'd be a good guest for our show.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. And my personal is Marcella Ranieri, MarcellaRaneri. Super easy.
Mine is Gabby.talks on Instagram. Send us DMs if you want to be on the show. And Too Posh Podcast is on all social media.
And we need to have you on our podcast.
Yeah.
I would love to come on. I've never told my story.
I can't wait to.
My story comes out in little pieces, like you. It comes out in little pieces while you're recording.
Yeah.
But my story is really weird, so I never really told
Can't wait.
We like
it. And then, so what Too Posh Podcast needs is it needs subscribers.
Yes.
And reviews.
Yes, and review our show.
Review the show. So if you can subscribe and review.
Over 26,000 downloads, and that's awesome. And we need more reviews.
Need more reviews.
It looks like we have nothing. Just a little.
So along those lines, if you're interested in Bourbon Real Talk, you can find us at bourbonrealtalk.com. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram /Bourbon Real Talk. You can also apply to be a show guest. You can give me suggestions for shows or ideas in any of those formats. You can, if you have any love in your heart at all for me, you could subscribe. And more importantly, review the episode that you saw, because unfortunately, the algorithm that decides which podcasts are going to be shown or which YouTube channel is going to be shown heavily influenced by those reviews. So if you don't like what I'm doing, feel free to tell me so. I take constructive criticism, although I'm trying as hard as I can. So if it's not what you wanted, sorry about you. I don't know that I can do more. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I always like to remind everybody the show is about encouragement and, learning from the past, moving forward, forming new connections, building bridges. Yeah. So if you woke up this morning and you were unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that I love you. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. That was awesome. Yeah. You did a great job.